It's the Indie Horror Junkie Podcast, your source for anything and everything indie horror. Here's your host, Otis B. Dreads. It is 8 p.m. Eastern. Do you know where your indie horror is? It's right here, the Indie Horror Junkie Podcast. I am Otis B. Dreads. We have, of course, Rotting Ricky D and Miss Aimee Rolfsen, a.k.a. Asylum Aimee, but you were here under producer and Danny. We'll get to that in a second because that has to do with our guest. We're having almost the in-movie roundtable. Is what this is turning into.
Good way to put it.
Because everyone but myself that's going to be on the show had something to do with the movie. So, but hey, it's going to be fun. We have Kevin. Let me make sure I get this right. Help me out.
Beganovic.
Beganovic. There he is. I had it right before the show, and of course, once we hit that live button, words get hard. So we have Kevin on the show. We have Sloan Losch. Is that right?
Yep, we got both these guys in the house, both co-owners of Greasy Boys Films, co-writers, co-directors, producers.
It's co-everything.
Kevin did all
I think they're connected at the hip, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're connected
They're
at
like
the hip.
Swiss Army knives.
We have, 2024 is right around the corner, of course, Christmas. And this coming Monday, my goodness. I wasn't sure if Amy's lights had to do with Christmas or had to do with the color scheme of the inn and the Palm Court.
Oh, a little bit of both, it looks like. Yeah.
A little bit of both. That's what I got. Yeah. But with, the end of 2023 coming, 2024 is going to start off with a bang. First of all, we have the new issue of the Indie Horror Junkie magazine coming out January 13th, issue 7. And then a month later, little less than a month later, February 2nd through the 4th in Orlando. Is the convention center? Is that what it is? Or
the Orange County Convention Center? Yeah,
Orange County Convention Center. MegaCon comes to town, and so does the first annual Indie Horror Junkie Film Festival. 3 days of indie horror films, trivia, fun. Well, and of course, Rick's there for the drinks. And we're gonna have panels, and I believe our guests tonight are going to be a part of one of those panels, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that was mentioned. So that's going to be a fun weekend. I've had the privilege of being a judge, so I've got to see some really. You guys are not going to be disappointed. Let me just put it to you that way. There's going to be lots of swag. You get to meet us junkies. That should be the highlight of the weekend. Really, you get to meet
that is for me.
It is for me too, to be honest.
It's filling up. There's a lot of really cool guests that are going to be there, panel-wise, filmmaker-wise, actors, producers. It's loaded. We've got some surprises that we're not ready to announce, but stay tuned.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of merch as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And, as the year progresses, who knows what's going to come as far as Indie Horror Junkie, because it has exploded over the year from a digital magazine to now print versions. You may not get them in time for Christmas, but who doesn't like a late Christmas present? You can always give the one you love, the Indie Horror Junkie in your life, their very own physical copy of the magazine. Go to indiehorrorjunkie.com or Indie Horror Junkie. No, that's the wrong one.
Yeah,
indiehorrorjunkie.com.
Yeah, head over to the Stash House. Everything's there, all the goodies, all the merch, all the magazine issues broken down into segments. It's an easy site to navigate, so check it out.
It really is. And then later on next year, we have the Florida Horror Con. I'm really looking forward to that one. That one's September. Help me out with the exact days again. September.
Aimee?
13th, 14th, and 15th.
That's 13th, right. Day one is Friday the 13th. So How beautiful is that?
Fitting, yeah. How appropriate. That's awesome. And of course, if you yourself listening, which we do have a few, we have Molly in the house, Jeff Turner, a couple Facebook users, so I can't see your name, but we are filling up and just in time because we're getting ready to bring on Kevin Sloan. And of course, you were also part of the Inn as well as yourself. Rick had a small cameo. This is going to be a fun talk. I've got my questions ready. I'm ready to go. How about you guys? You guys want to roll with this teaser trailer because this is already intense, and this is just a teaser. Also,
Absolutely.
I believe the premiere of the full trailer is going to be played at the film festival.
It is, yes. So we're gonna have a different trailer for that. It's gonna be extended. So this is just a little tease to get you through the rest of the year. And come February, we're gonna have a little bit more. So
all right.
I'm
Well,
excited.
here we go. This is a teaser for sure.
This is Mary Martinez reporting live for News Channel 8. We're the first on scene here at the Value Inn from what seems to be a complete and absolute mass. We'll report as much as we know when it comes in. Mary Martinez, Bay News Action 8.
All right, there you have it. When I said that was a teaser, boy, that was a teaser. Welcome, Kevin. Welcome, Sloan, to the Indie Horror Junkie podcast. Great to have you guys on. This is the end from the vibes that I'm getting on social media. This is a pretty anticipated film here. It's got that 80s throwback feel to it, which I absolutely love. Just like Rick, I'm a big 80s horror guy, 80s slasher guy. This has all those tropes, man. This looks really exciting.
Yeah, I hope there's a lot of interest in the film. We spent the last 3 years of our lives on this film. It's just all consuming, the Inn. And I think that kind of does speak for itself. You see it on social media and stuff that we put into it. This is our 9 to 5. The whole entire thing with our lives is this film. So we want to give the horror fans something that will delight them. And, we've done it. I feel we've done that with everything we put into this.
It was basically our love letter to 80s slasher films and the horror genre. And we made sure that we put everything we could into the film, so that way people know it's not just filmmakers making like a film here. It's horror fans making a film for the horror fans. It's something that we've been wanting to see once again for a long time, filled to the brim with old school practical effects gore and just crazy kill scenes.
Oh yeah, that's what it's all about. Speaking, my first question to get us started. I absolutely love Sandman. The look about him, he is menacing. He's absolutely frightening. That mask. A lot of horror villains have little backstories. Is there anything that you can share with us? Who is this Sandman? Does he have a story, or is that something that we all have to wait to figure out when we watch it?
Wait to figure it out, because I like to keep it more of like a mysterious figure, like sort of like in Tobe Hooper's original 74 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They don't really explain too much about Leatherface. It's just a guy mask, and then later on with other films they try to dive into like his backstory and whatnot. The one thing I can say is the mask does have almost like a power to it, almost like a cursed object. There's a shot in there where the mask does start to breathe on its own. One of my favorite shots, and I'm not spoiling anything
I
here.
was just thinking about that as you were
That's
talking.
like almost like a teaser of what we have in store for other films to start the backstory of the mask, the killer itself, why he is the way that he is, and everything.
So
All
this
the-
is
all the-
we could see a whole Sandman universe in a sense. You're gonna dive into that. The end. I watched the short earlier, which you can check out on YouTube. 5 minutes of your life. It's not gonna kill you. You won't be disappointed. Kind of a get you ready for the full feature length. So that you're kind of building a little universe here, and we need more different horror icons. I'm a huge Michael Myers guy. I mean, we all love the classics, but I think that it's really been just driven into the ground in a lot of cases, and we need some new icons. We have Art the Clown, we have the Sandman. I mean, these are names that I would like to hear the next few years, as far as horror icons.
Yeah.
And you guys, I gotta add, Kevin created that mask. There were 3 masks that we used on set, and Kevin sculpted that. So they created and wrote and built this character, and then Kevin brought that visually for all of us. And it's such a cool
What was the
character that you
thinking
haven't seen.
behind that? Yeah, what
I was
was
going
the
to say, you didn't go to the store and just buy a William Shatner mask and hack
I
it out?
know,
No.
come on, man.
No,
Save us some
we
money.
went pretty all out with this one. I think we were first coming up with concepts for the character itself, and I drew a few sketches of what I wanted to see. And then Sloan and I, because us being big horror fans, we always liked individual like characters in films that have particular masks or mask designs to them. And one of those masks that both he and I grew up really loving as kids was Dr. Decker from Nightbreed. We thought the whole of it was just so menacing, cool. I was like, man, if I did an original like horror slasher, I would definitely try and at least incorporate a little bit of Nightbreed in there, just as like a subtle love letter to what got us into the filmmaking. So we sculpted the mask. We tried to incorporate a little bit of Nightbreed, but we emphasized heavily on the wrinkles because I knew with the lighting, I wanted it to capture as much shadows on that mask as possible. So through some trial and error and sending photos of it to Sloan and him giving me honest creative feedback, which was critical during the making of the mask, we managed to get the final actual sculpt of the Sandman mask. And then us being micro budget, I got the actor's measurements for his wardrobe, and I knew, like, for example, Nightmare on Elm Street had a striped sweater going horizontally. I wanted to have something similar to that, but it was a like needle stripes undershirt that goes vertically, just to make him appear even taller on camera rather than broader.
Mm-hmm.
So we went out, we purchased like a few various like costumes. We went through the whole process of trying to rough them up and edit. So we basically did costumes also.
Yeah.
We wore many hats during this film production.
All the hats.
Which is the essence of indie filmmaking right there, exactly.
Yeah.
But that leads me into my question real quick. You guys are obviously way too young to have been, hardcore 80s fans back in the theaters like I was in the drive-ins and stuff. So obviously you must have seen the reruns and God Bless Turner classic movies and all that good stuff. But what was your inspiration? Do you have any particular films that you could say that were your inspiration that helped you come up with the idea behind the end and what you wanted to try and emulate or incorporate? Obviously, besides Nightbreed.
Yeah, I think all sequels for horror films. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. It's a gory film. It's a horror film, but there is comedy in the film as well.
Yep.
And I think Kevin and I both, we absolutely love horror comedies. We love to have that element of laughter and just, holy crap, did you see that? Like, what the hell? But you're laughing at the same time. So I mean, Evil Dead 2. I mean, a lot of sequels played into this, and love to the originals, but the sequels to us, we do love our sequels. So that's kind of what inspired a lot of the film, the kind of horror that we were creating with Greasy Boys, with our films that we do create. So with the Sandman character, it was it's 80s. You had your strong horror icon, and then you build a film around him, or it, and that's what we were going with. We want to build a film around this character, but the Inn actually started as an anthology film. It was called In Dead Town, and we were going to have an anthology where we had a chiropractor called Snap that broke people's backs and crazy stuff like that. That we had the Fisherman, which was like a Sweeney Todd kind of fisherman kind of story. This is Florida for you. And then we had the Inn, or it wasn't called the Inn, it was called Room 6. And when we shot the short film, that was actually supposed to be just a little tease for the anthology film. But after we shot it, we were like, holy crap, man, the Sandman character is like, it's phenomenal. Like, we should just make a film. And to Kevin's credit, he's the one that really pushed that idea. We should just build a film around the Sandman. And I mean, after we shot that short film, we went right into writing the Inn and just leaving the anthology idea in the back, and just moving forward with it. So we did want that horror icon, and we did want to make it where it's close to the fun kind of 80s vibe of horror, which is a lot of horror comedy. So that's what kind of helped with creating the film, and where we call back to some of the 80s films that inspired us to make it.
Now, speaking of the Sandman and the horror villains throughout the indie horror or horror genre, period, what do you guys think makes a good horror villain from maybe a filmmaker's standpoint? What do you think? I mean, does he have to be big? We've seen, I mean, Freddy Krueger, horror villain, is not a big guy. He wasn't meant to be. You have a Jason or a Sandman. What do you think are some key things that you look for in a horror villain that's really going to grab the audience? Because I think you did it with the Sandman. That's why I'm curious.
Well, I think it relies heavily on whether it's entertaining. If it's entertaining and pleasing to the audience to actually see this person, go through the film, pick apart these people, creating almost like an anti-hero where you're not supposed to be rooting for this guy, but there's something about him you actually kind of like seeing him tear these people apart. Something along those lines. Heavy practical effects, I think, also helps a lot with that.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're making a film that's going to, kind of pay homage to, the 80s horror movies, you got to have a lot of blood. That's just
I
my
also think
opinion.
it has this is probably coming from an actor's point of view, the energy that the actor brings to the character and the choices that
Very
they make
true. Yeah.
based off of what these writers have given them. And Brandon Yates played the Sandman, and he is a very tall actor. He was the perfect build for this, and he brought this very distinct energy, which I don't want to speak for you guys, but I think it's exactly what you wanted and envisioned for the character. Just the way he moved and the way that he breathed. He brought the character that these guys created to life in a very significant way. And I can't wait for you guys to see how he played the character, because I fell in love with it. Kill after kill after kill.
Like subtle things to not only his movement, but to like the way he breathed, the way he would walk off camera.
Yes.
He, it's almost like he put that mask on and he turned into the Sandman. And that was like my thing, was just trying to, direct him in terms of like the kill, the movements, and just allowing everybody to have the creative freedom and the space in order to create whatever came about on screen. And then if you have your notes, you go in and you critique and you make adjustments, but allowing them to be as creative as possible with whatever makes for a better work environment, so that way you can get what you want on screen. I try to do that with everybody.
And you'll see, and like Brandon made choices and he committed to those choices, like down to like the flick of a hand, or like Kevin said, the way he walked off. It's just something that you haven't seen, but you're just like, yes, like it's so fun to watch.
I think you hit on something, Amy, and I think we've seen that. Most people, when they think of Jason, they think of Kane Hodder. He didn't come in until like part 6 or 7. I mean, he was very late in the game. There were so many other actors that played Jason, but I think what's so memorable is he brought that breathing, that shoulder, that thing, and that brought almost a menacing feel to the character, and I think that sticks out in people's minds. You
Good
don't
point.
think you don't think of the Jason in the burlap sack mask, which I absolutely love because I'm just a fan of horror villains in burlap masks. There's something fucking creepy about that. I don't know what it is, but you think of Kane Hodder, and because I think it's what he brought to that character who has to rely on movement and just body movement and positioning, and because you can't see facial expressions, he's not talking, so he has to act with his body, and I can't wait to see it because that's something I've always wanted to do, is be that silent killer, and just I always thought that would be fun. And I'm kind of curious to see how he does it. Now can you give us any kind of heads up on when we might be able to expect to see this in 2024? Do you have a release date?
Yeah, we're trying to go before Halloween. This is like September, August. The thing about making this film is we spent 3 years on it. We want to make sure that we're having the time to craft something that those 3 years of hard work can actually show. So we want to put the time into the edit, to the music. We have great music already for the film, but like the composing of it, every little detail that goes into this film, we want to present a fine-tuned product.
Yeah.
So we are pushing for, like I said, August and September. And I know there's a lot of people that are like they've been waiting on this film, and I appreciate the patience on it. And we are ready. If I could give it to you now, I would give it to you now. But I know there's so much more to give, and that's the thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. Obviously, with regards to special effects, and like I said, I'm a big 80s guy, so that was before the big CGI movements and stuff like that. Very practical effects. I mean, I know CGI is getting better in this and that, but to me, there's nothing like good practical effects. I mean, my first movie was Web of Darkness, and I actually I had the pleasure of having Tom Savini on set. Some people may have heard of him, but he's known for his practical effects, and he did wonders with what we did. So, Kevin, I guess this question, what inspired you as far as your practical effects makeup and stuff like that, which obviously you used and pretty much took to town from what I'm being told on the end? Who are your big inspirations as far as the special makeup effects, and you pattern yourself after?
Well, it would more than likely be Tom Savini, because that was the first effects artist that actually I saw behind the scene photos of working on effects, behind the scene videos, seeing him working on effects, and just going through all of that, finding out that he made a book, Cinematic Illusion. I still have the book. I rented it from a library when I was a kid. I refused to give it back, so I kept it all these years.
So
You're gonna get hit up with those late fees one
That'll
day.
be one hell of a late fee you got there, buddy.
Yeah. But it was most definitely Tom Savini. When I grew up as a kid, admiring all of the effects that he did for Texas Chainsaw 2, Friday the 13th Part 4, a lot of stuff that he did I thought was just absolutely phenomenal. And a lot of the stuff that I still do now, I always try to emulate that type of look or feeling that you get, watching some of the effects that I can create to look somewhat like Savini's would be phenomenal.
And
Yeah,
how many gallons of blood you guys did
Oh dear God.
go through on set? Because it was quite a bit. Kevin every day is mixing, and he's on the phone with Sloan. I need you to pick up this, and this, and he's just cocktailing more blood. And
I think For the first week, we went through for like 5 gallons, and I think the second week we went through like 4 gallons or so.
Mm.
So close to 10 gallons of blood. And
So how long? It was only what, a few weeks to shoot. How
I
long
think-
did the shoot last?
10 days, and we gave the crew a day off in between. I think tried to keep it at least 10 days with. And try to kept that at least like a 10-hour shoots or minimum.
Yeah, we hit that every time too. Like we really big. I think there was one night we went over 10 because we got behind. But other than that, we are straight on like, hey, we're not overworking the crew. We gave them the Sunday off in between, and then when we came back, we actually had a lighter week the second week. So because it just makes it for a better product at the end. When everybody's having a good time, having fun, not burned out, we got a hell of a horror film that we're making. So it worked out really well. I was surprised how well it actually did work because 10 days to make a feature film, sometimes it sounds like that's a crunch. I know there's people that do 5 days, and I love them for it. Yeah. And they're amazing
I was
for
thinking
that.
about Rick the entire time we were talking about
Yeah,
this.
you were sitting there saying these 10-hour days. I'm like lightweights.
Yeah.
No, it was a good flow, and it kept everybody refreshed. It keeps your mind
Totally agree.
going, because that can become very fatigued on top of the physical. And we got to give a shout out to the Palm Court Motel, which is where the location was for the filming, because the three of us crazy kids right here lived on set for 10 plus days, which really helped allow us to be able to work and focus, because you're staying where you're filming. So you wrap up, you clean, you crash, you go to sleep, you wake up, and you're ready to go. So that really was a big benefit to us, was location. And Anthony, the owner, was very welcoming and flexible and lenient, and really kind of just let us take over. So we definitely got to give a shout out to the Palm Court, because they were a big part of helping us maintain that schedule and achieve it.
Was that them that came to that little rap party there by the pool?
Oh
that we
yeah.
met?
Mhm.
Yeah,
They were such nice people. They seemed really grateful and everything. It was crazy. I thought for sure they'd be in there to say, "Okay, you guys are done. Get out."
Yeah.
No, they were great.
Absolutely phenomenal. We were just talking about Anthony, actually. Sometimes
Yeah.
we'll go out and he'll take a gander at us filming, and he would laugh and chuckle, and he'd be like, "You a couple of crazy dudes, huh?"
Nicest guy in the world, and just let us do our thing and help with anything we need. I mean, we were like 3 a.m. sometimes, like, "Hey, Anthony," and he was right there, and
Yeah, he
just
was
very supportive of the film and supportive of what these guys presented to him as far as, what they wanted to do. And he's a big fan now. And we just went back last week, and I was there with Brandon Yates, who plays the Sandman. He's also a photographer. I went back with some of the girls to do a photo shoot for the end and Indie Horror Junkie, which you guys will see in the January issue. But again, just very welcoming and kind, and we could not have done it without them.
Yeah, Aimee, you did send me a few pics from some behind the scenes photos. I want to roll through them, and any one of you guys, I'll pop it up, and then somebody can either, talk about it, explain it, whatever you want to do. Let's start with this one here. It looks like we're playing in the blood right here.
Guys with their greasy little spine.
All that blood.
Look at all the blood.
Of brutality where someone gets their spine pulled out, and that's I think we're right outside of the office, and we always try to replicate Step Brothers photo. So any chance. So that's been like our calling card.
This is one of my favorite photos of the whole BTS.
That's good stuff.
That I'm working on, we try to recreate the Step Brothers photo.
That's awesome. With a bloody spine in hand.
Nice.
That's great. We have Miss Aimee there, and a very confused look on that gentleman's face there.
That's Connor
Like
Holden.
somebody may have broke wind, is what it looks like. Aimee is completely stunned.
It could have been me. I don't remember. I won't say. But that's also Connor Holden there. He plays Brian, and Dan Wachowski. He plays Sam, and they bring a lot of comedy, a lot of comedic relief to the film, and you guys are going to fall in love with them right away.
I can already see the comic relief there.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
there's the man of the hour. That mask, man, that is so awesome. I love the little the button. It's just a button, right, over his left eye.
Yeah,
Like a
it's
little kiss.
cute as
That's that's a
I keep
unique.
thinking of that creepy anime movie. What is it? Coraline. My daughter
Oh,
loved
yeah.
that because it had that button, the buttons for eyes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Such a cool looking mask.
it really is, man. I'm mesmerized. I could sit and like
Okay.
stare at it all night. Here we have oh, look at these masterminds plotting and planning. Look at the seriousness. Look,
That's just
Mhm.
3 greasy stooges right there.
man.
Very much.
I think that was in the back alley where we filmed the scene. Somebody gets attacked by the Sandman, and he gets a hold of their face and tears it in half like a banana, revealing all the visceral, gory muscle tissues and slimy blood. So
Nice.
Awesome. You gotta love it, man. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Here we go. This is just a little behind the scenes
Yeah,
here.
this is Marjorie
Yeah.
and Kendall. They're part of the Spring Break cast, and they are some phenomenal young actresses. And this was their first horror film, feature film, and they are some scream queens. They killed it.
Nice.
Awesome.
I was actually surprised this was their first feature film. I was like, my God, man, you guys are just phenomenal.
Yep. And a lot of the
Yeah, you
cast
never know.
comes from a theater background, and you can always, that definitely plays into the authenticity of the characters and their acting skills. But they were great. I love these girls and can't wait to work with them again.
Awesome. There we go. Some more Sandman there, it looks like. And
Yeah.
This is our director of photography, probably one of the most talented guys I've ever been able to work with. His name's Alan Hills, and he works part of the company called Frame Forge. They have been a huge help with the making of this film, and they've been a supporter, a great friend throughout the entire process. And without him, I don't think I would have had as great cinematic footage as I would have. The whole lighting that we wanted to capture throughout the film was House of a Thousand Corpses meets Friday the 13th, and then we have characters in there that remind us of Clerks for dark comedy. So terrific to work with the entire 2 weeks. It was like almost like a film camp with like your friends just trying to make a greasy little horror film.
That's awesome. I get the with one of the pictures coming up. Well, actually, this one has the lighting of a House of a Thousand Corpses kind of thing. I kind of get that vibe a little bit. There we see that's Brandon Yates there, isn't it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, he plays the Sandman, and as you mentioned, Aimee, we're coming up to that picture of all the lovely ladies of the inn.
I just want to note that's also Lance Tefalski. He plays the Drifter. He's also a phenomenal actor and brought a lot of that character into these scenes, and you guys are going to love him too.
We'd like to bring more into the Drifter. We love that character as well. So these two guys are just some big brutal dudes, and I mean, either way, you could build a whole film around this Drifter character as well. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just incredible having these two guys basically in this film as some horror icons potentially, for sure. So they're both amazing actors. They killed it. Brutality all the way.
Sounds like a prequel on the way.
Yeah.
That's
The Inn -1.
that was one of our conversations, Sloan and I had.
I love it.
Don't give it all away.
Yeah.
Shout out to the
We got
Palm Court
ideas.
Motel. So this is a real location. Anybody who wants to go and check it out, you can call the Palm Court, phone Anthony, and get your room. I recommend staying in room 106.
Oh,
Hotel sign. It was lit by neon. It automatically reminded me of Captain Spaulding's fried chicken and gasoline.
I was just getting ready to say that. It really does, man. That was one of the photos that really reminded me of that. Yeah.
And I was like, yep, we got our location.
And of course, our very own
Hey, I
Yes.
know that guy.
I know that guy.
That was just before they brutalized me.
Yeah, you had a small cameo, Rick, in that. Why don't you tell us about what you did in the inn?
Well, I can't really tell you a whole lot because my
Okay.
cameo kind of jumps right to the gusto quickly. But I play, I think, one of the hotel managers, I guess, and I got to bring a little comedy to the table, which I thought was fun, and then lots of blood. And I was just happy to be there. It just felt like it was so weird pulling up on set, and I'm seeing all these guys that we just got done working with on the clock, Ricky and Blake and everybody else. It's like, wow, it's like home. And Brandon, yeah. So, but no, I'm a big fan of Kevin and Sloan's. I got to work with Kevin. He did the special effects from my short film, The Foretelling, and I was just proud to be a part of this whole thing. So when they called me up, I'm like, just tell me when and where.
And Rick was the martini shot. So he was filmed on the perfect day. He was the last shot we did. And then we had a little wrap party. So we got to sit around and hang out and, just let our hair down a little bit. And it was a lot of fun to have the whole group there doing that.
I didn't let a whole lot of hair down, but I had fun.
No hair was being let down on the part.
No hair was being let down on my part.
Oh boy.
We had you improv a few lines that made Sloan and I start like.
Oh yeah, I was dying.
He said, "I can't focus on what I'm doing because of these spring break fuckers out there."
I kept thinking about that line. I'm like, I hope they keep that line. I'm like, I just thought it was fun. I figured I wanted to add something to it.
We definitely kept that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And last but not least, the
there they are
of the Scream Queens
Morgan
of the inn.
And Ariella. There's Marjorie and Kendall again. This picture is from last weekend, like I was saying, where Brandon Yates met us back at the Palm Court, and we took over one of the rooms and had ourselves a little in-theme photo shoot for the Indie Horror Junkie magazine, dropping on January 13th with Leonora Shelfo on the cover, who's from the original Scream, and she will be gracing the cover of that issue as well. So lots of impact fun coming at you in a few weeks.
Awesome. Wow.
Everybody, like, such a pleasure to work with and have on set, and it was just phenomenal time that we had those 2 weeks.
Let's the time of our lives, honestly.
Let's talk a little bit about the old Greasy Boys films. You guys are both co-owners of it. How did this start? I know kind of the influence being that 80s horror and whatnot, but what made you guys decide to make that jump? Because it's kind of a big jump, I would think.
Yeah. Well, we connected on a film during COVID where we were stuck on a mountain for 22 days up in New Mexico. And when you're living with people for 22 days and there's no internet, there's no phone service, and then you find out this guy next to you that you just met loves Devil's Rejects and nobody else knows Devil's Rejects. He's like, well, oh my God, man, come on. So Kevin and I, we connected real quick. And I will say, I love Kevin like a brother. Like, he is absolutely a brother to me. I wouldn't use best friend. I'm gonna get a little teary-eyed here, but he is a brother. And it was a magical experience for 22 days that I got to, bond. And him and I actually, I had to go pick up an actress all the way in Albuquerque. It's like a 3-hour drive. And I bullshitted to get him to go with me on this 3-hour drive.
He said, I can't go alone. I have anxiety.
I can't drive 3 hours by myself. Even though I drove all the way from Florida to New Mexico with everybody. But that's where the inn was created, was that 3-hour drive. I was 6 hours altogether. On the way there, it's kind of like we had like a spark where it's like, well, why don't we just create our own films? Like, why don't we just create horror films? Like, we're doing this drama kind of film. We should have fun and make our own films. And that's where In Dead Town was imagined, the anthology film. And we really had those gears turning, and it's literally been that film since 3 years ago. We just expanded upon the Sandman. And now, we have other films that we have lined up that we're ready to get this film done and put out there so we can move on to these other projects. And I think we have you're going to notice we have our own style. It's a greasy film. for sure. So a lot of blood, a lot of practicals, a lot of comedy in there. We're ready to put more, give people more of our greasy films. So, I mean, but it's definitely a friendship bonded by horror, 100%. We do talk about other things like smoking meats, but it's mostly horror film.
Love me a good brisket.
Yeah.
There we
Now,
go.
We
with obviously this being the indie horror genre and stuff like that, we're talking about I call them the blue collar horror filmmakers, the guys that work 9 to 5 and do this stuff on the weekends and days off and stuff. What are some of the, I guess, hardships you had being an indie filmmaker where you don't have the access to a studio and set schedules and everything like that? Tell me some of the, I guess, give some of these indie horror filmmakers out there some idea of what you may have had to go through and some of the things you had to overcome.
Well, 9 to 5. Kevin's got a 9 to 5 job. I have a 9 to 5 job. I was working for a church while I was doing writing this crazy film with Kevin and going over and creating the effects. And Kevin, he's a butcher, so I mean, it's 9 to 5. I think that's the biggest thing is finding the time to do something that you absolutely love and you really want that to be your main job, but you really can't because you have to make the money to make the film. You're using your funds to do this. It's not a hobby that you can just, I mean, you can go out and do it, but you do have to put money, sweat, a lot of time into this.
Yeah.
And then Kevin, go ahead. You've been doing the special effects for this film for so long and balancing that as well.
Oh yeah, we would back when I used to work mornings, I used to get up around like 5 a.m. work as a butcher in the cooler up until 2:30, cutting all the meat that we needed, and I would come home, and then from 3 o'clock. Lucky I have insomnia, so I don't really sleep all that much. I'd be in the creature shop creating all the effects, and I would have a checklist of all the effects that I needed throughout the day. So I would be up at 6 a.m., come home at 2:30, and then from 2:30 all the way up until midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, I would be in the creature shop creating all the effects and the molds. I couldn't really afford help to come in and help, so it all fell on me. I had to make sure all the effects were done solo, so which can get exhausting whenever you're picking up 50, 60, 70-pound molds, turning them upside down, whipping up foam latex, injecting them, building foam ovens, making sure that everything's being done correctly. And then on our days off, I was off on Sunday and Tuesday. So we would end up meeting together. We would go out to the locations. We would organize all the locations. We would do scouting. We would do all the paperwork that we needed. We would do our creative meetings. We did the fundraising, the Kickstarter. We would save up money, personal money that we would put aside to the film. And once I got switched to nights, I worked 12 to 9, picking up extra hours, and then also balancing doing the rest of the practical effects with your part-time job or your full-time job. When we first started working on this film, I was a butcher at a meat market that eventually went bankrupt. So I ended up losing my job, and there was like a plateau there for 2 months where we didn't have the income coming in to keep the ball rolling. So within those 2 months, we ended up just trying to, take loans out, personal loans, trying to afford, effects materials and, just, trying to make, I know Sloan ended up selling some of his equipment that he had, his personal equipment, to cover some of the expenses. I got rid of a few of the collectibles that I had to cover some of the expenses. So it was like a roller coaster. You had your ups and your downs. But
Well, it was just you and I for the first 2 years. We did absolutely everything. It affects Kevin, and I was spending all day doing PR, and then of course writing. But then what was amazing that happened was in that third year we had Aimee come aboard, and I'm telling you, Aimee is the glue for this whole operation. Like, she is as greasy as it gets. She's part of this, but without Aimee,
Greased
I don't
my
know.
way in.
I don't know if we could really keep it together, because it was those 2 years stressed us out so much and took away, like, I mean, even remembering things, because we had so much that we would try to do, and just having someone come in, Aimee, to offset that was like, holy shit, we can we can actually make the film. Like I mean, it can happen. I don't feel like we're barely even moving it because we're doing so much. Its ball started rolling really fast, and that was beginning of last year. Well, currently that's 2023. Aimee came in, and man, it took off from there. All kinds of desire to want to make this film again came back. We weren't just kind of like, oh God, this is like just dragging basically our lives right here. So that was big. So now we went from a 2-person operation to a 3-person. We might be called the Greasy Boys, but we definitely have Aimee. She's greasy, so we could just say greasy.
Girl in the house. But you guys got to know that all that passion that I brought was just me feeding off of your energy. You know, seeing the short film, reading the script, understanding where you guys were coming from, and seeing the passion that was behind each of you, and the commitment that you had, and every sacrifice that you had already made and were making when I came in, that just drove me. So it was like the 3 of us kind of hopped on this ride together, and it just kept going faster and faster and faster. And we picked up speed and made it happen. And like, you know, you guys just one big greasy family.
And to me, that's why I love the indie horror genre so much, and indie horror filmmakers, is because, I mean, it'd be nice, believe me, trust me, to work in a studio atmosphere, and you've got that regular check coming in, and you're getting paid ungodly amounts of movie to make movie magic. And not to say that some of those filmmakers aren't fantastic and some of those movies aren't great, but to me, there's just something special about people, you know, like us, the people who are doing this in their spare time. In other words, the time that we have off, that we're supposed to be relaxing or whatever it is, getting ready for work on Monday, we're busy writing, we're busy casting, we're busy promoting, and we're busy, you know, doing the due diligence to go out and make these movies on the time that we should be, you know, relaxing, because we do it because we love it, because that's our passion. So to me, that's that extra magic that you see in a lot of these movies, is because you can see it and feel it and everything with these filmmakers and the cast and the crew that are out there sometimes doing stuff for free or whatever it is, because they love it, because they're passionate about it. And when you've got passion, you've got magic.
And I gotta say, that passion and that energy just kept building even throughout the 10 days that we filmed. Like, you'd think that, okay, you guys, we're going to start wearing down and we're going to be delirious. And it was just a team. Like, even at the end of the day, like, we'd be out there scrubbing blood off the concrete and like cleaning up. But you just do what you got to do to get it done, because, you know, you've got work the next day. And I think we were also excited and proud of all those dailies that we were capturing every day, that like you're just in this mode, but you're not doing it alone. You're doing it with, like, you know, your people right there with you. And it just, the momentum kept going. And I think it's really going to show when you watch the film.
Oh, I agree. I can't wait. And I can speak on that because I was, like you said, I was there on the last day. I was the martini shot, and I didn't feel any kind of whatsoever from anybody there that, oh my God, we're almost done, let's get out of here, whatever. Everybody was excited. Everybody was laughing. Everybody, you know, it just seemed like it could go on and on. So if I'm there feeling that on day 10, you know, I can imagine that's the way it was the whole time. And that's a beautiful thing.
Well, we're sick in the head. We didn't want it to end. We were all crying when he
We had a lot of fun. Definitely had a lot, especially in the rooms, playing around, trying to. Sloan and I, we were bunking together. Like we had like a room to ourselves, which we kept all the equipment and the studio in, all the practical effects there.
I saw the cadaver room. Yeah.
Yeah, our cadaver room. And in that room is where I stored all the wigs. So after we would go take a shower, get dressed, we would be making like some food or something like that. I turn around and I see Sloan. He has a wig on. I know what it feels like.
The fun never stopped. I will say that.
That's good. That's beautiful stuff.
Yeah, I mean, well, you got to have some fun on the set. You know, it is long hours, you know, and you have to keep going. I mean, you know, you speaking, Kevin, about, you know, working, getting up at 5, getting off at 2, working, you know, on the film or for the film until 1 o'clock in the morning, going to work exhausted the next day, you know. That's driven by passion. I can't, you know, and that is what you see, I think, more so in the indie horror, indie filmmaking, whatever genre, probably, but we're talking indie horror. You, you see that. You see that grind and that passion that I think maybe might be lacking a little bit in Hollywood. You don't see it so much because everything is huge budget, and you don't have those, those worries. You don't have to worry, okay, how am I going to pay, the cast? How am I going to get, this material, that material, whatever. You don't have all those worries because you have such a phenomenal budget. So
Have to worry about coming home and going to turn on a light switch and being like, oh yeah, that was past due, but it's
right, yeah.
it's all right because I'm not really home all that much anyway.
Mhm.
Now, what was that? Was that you? Now, where'd you say that was filmed at again? Where's the Palm Beach?
Dunedin, Florida.
Dunedin.
Okay. And
Lovely
that was,
town.
what was that? Was that pretty easy to score that location? Did you already know Anthony, the owner there, prior, or?
Nah, we just showed up, Kevin and I, and Kevin's got a charm. He can charm the pants off anybody, and I knew it. I pushed him in there, and we got all the locations actually right down from each other. So we had the Palm Court, and there's an actual restaurant right next to it. Well, bam, there's our diner location, and right down the street, literally just like maybe like a minute walk away, is the gas station for our scenes. So we literally had, besides the back road, we had a back road location, but that was only like 5-10 minutes away. So everything was right there. Everything was shot in Dunedin, but it was just kind of funny because it's like once we talked to Anthony, he has neighbors of the restaurant, and they're like, "Oh, hey, we heard you're shooting a film here. Do you want to use our location?" Like, "Oh, well, sure." Then the same thing with a gas station. "Oh, you guys are shooting a horror film. Do you want to use our gas station?" It's like, "Oh, well, yes, of course." So it's crazy. I've never been part of a production where the location owners are such. I mean, it's incredible. Like usually,
They're willing to help, yeah.
yeah, it's
All
more
of them.
feels like a
Mike, the
transaction.
owner. We got to talk about Mike, the owner of
Mike?
the restaurant.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
pancake.
He invited us he treated us to breakfast, and it was us and the Sandman, and I even like had my kids there. It was on our day off, and he's like this crazy pancake artist.
Oh, I saw
Oh,
that.
I should have put that in for the podcast for you guys. You can go hop over to our Instagram page and check it out. But he made us these Sandman pancakes and all of these end theme pancakes. Just the nicest people, the coolest town. I don't know how we got so lucky.
He was
You-
also
you-
is like the crazy thing. He was like the man's he's a certified genius who I think, from what I recall, he used to work for NASA, or he worked with some type of like advanced technology that he would develop for space travel. And he retired, and he owns this little mom and pop breakfast shop that's open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's right next to the Palm Court Motel. But
That's
he's
so good.
dabbles in inventions, and on our days off, we went over there. We went into the back room because he was talking to me about these lights, and these lights that would be cool for sci-fi films. It's like a thin piece of cord that has a specific coating that he put on this cord that almost like reacting to the sun, but it's also neon. So we go in this back room that's dark, and he turns on a switch, and in cursive and neon lights it says "sexy lights."
Sexy lights.
Sexy lights.
Did the Barry White music kick on and stuff in the background too, or nothing?
Almost.
Oh,
Yeah.
baby.
But he had like various like lighting and tubes. They were really cool, and he was just phenomenal to just meet, be around him and his whole family. His whole family.
He was another creative, and he was he was just a creative artist, and he had pancakes, sexy lights, breakfast, whatever you need. It's a one-stop shop.
I told
Every day
him,
was something.
like, you're welcome to come by on film set anytime.
You
Like,
whatever
yeah.
you want.
That's awesome. You
bring
know
pancakes.
that.
Sexy lights.
Yeah, bring
Yeah.
the pancakes. You mentioning Sloan, how everything was just kind of, right there, all your different locations. That reminded me, I'm a big fan of behind the scenes. When I get a DVD, I go right to the extras first. I want to see behind the scene. I want to see if they have the making of and things like that. And of course, I'm a huge Rob Zombie fan. I love his movies. And the Devil's Rejects, they had, you know, a lot of those sets. Like Captain Spaulding's house was literally right next to, you know, or right near, you know, the gas station or something. You know, it was very similar. You know, he was like, yeah, if you pan the camera just a little bit to the right, you'll see part of this, you know, which is another scene, which is supposed to be further away. And that really worked out. He said they lucked out getting, and I'm sure that takes the load off the filmmakers, you know, shoulders, where you have an abundance of locations right there in one general location. Not a lot of travel. You can go from this location to that location. You can get a lot more done, it seems that way.
Absolutely. I think at some point when we bounced from the Palmcore Motel to filming a kill scene at a gas station, we were able to just pick up the camera and just walk down for like 2 minutes. And
Right.
Yeah, if you forgot something, one of us would run back and get it, and it allowed you like that extra hour of sleep that we all needed so badly because you're not
Very
commuting.
true.
So it helped us just to stay on the timeline.
Well, speaking of timeline, we are almost out of time. But Kevin Sloan, what? Now I know you mentioned you guys have some projects that you know you're waiting to get off the ground after the inn gets out there for our eye holes. Anything that you can tease us with, or nothing right now. You're just kind of waiting for the inn to get out there.
Well, I think we could say, because I put a poster out for it, Little Town of Bethlehem, which is
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that film, and we have we have another one, Camp Carnage, as well. These are our two films that we're really looking at. Little Town of Bethlehem is basically it's like a creature feature Gremlins kind of style film with elves, I guess you could say. So it's a fun, and I mean, in the name, Little Town of Bethlehem, I mean, it's a nativity horror film. You don't really see those too much. So
no, you don't.
No, it's kind of a topic there, and it is. I mean, it should be fun. And then Camp Carnage is another creature kind of feature slasher that harks back to Creature from Black Lagoon at a camp.
Yeah.
So those are two, and I mean, I'm telling you, we've been on these for like since we did the end for 3 years. So it's like almost like just anticipation, excitement to finally get to actually do those as well. But there is more for the end because Kevin and I mean, I'm being honest when I say this, we've come up with more films for it. I mean, we know where we want to go. We use this film. It's a setup. It really is. This film, The End, is a setup to more. Like we're not trying to kill this and be a one-off. We want more for the Sandman and all the cast and characters in it. So that's what we're looking at going forward. And
you can say it. You can say it, Sloan. Franchise.
Yeah. I like to say.
No.
But I want to give it some time to cook. Somebody was like, "Oh yeah, you want to go from this one to the next one." I can't do that. Like this film, like let this thing have its time and let us have time to breathe from this.
Well, I mean, much deserved. I mean, it's a lot of work, 3 years to bring this project to life, and really, you know, and it's best that you take your time. You don't, you know, you're not setting a date for the end to come out. You like it to be out a certain time, but you're taking your time. You're making sure that 3 years of blood, sweat, and tears, and lack of sleep, and lots of coffee and energy drinks were worth it. And everything is top notch, and I'm sure will be from the looks of that trailer teaser. You can tell it's getting to the end of the show. Howard asked, when is the release? They're hoping September, October, possibly of this year, give or take. You know,
maybe at Florida HorrorCon in September. We'll see.
Yeah,
maybe.
Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be nice. And for those who are wondering where you can find all you need to find about the inn, please observe this scrolling Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter, all at In Horror Film, and of course, inhorrorfilm.my.canva. site. It's a pretty cool site, actually. I was there just before the show. It looks really well. So if you want to keep up on all things The Inn, there you go. Thank you, Kevin and Sloan, for your time this evening. It was a fun chat, man, and much success to you guys. You guys got something going really good, man. I'm liking the direction. I think a lot of people's going to like the direction. There's a lot of 80s horror fans out there, and where you're going with this. Yep, there you go. You know, and I think you got some good things coming in the future, man. It's been a pleasure talking with you guys.
Great job, guys.
Yeah,
Looking
thank
forward
you.
to it.
Keep it
Thank you for
great.
having us.
We're gonna put you backstage. If you gotta take off, go ahead. If not, hang tight. We like to say bye to you after the show. So hang tight if you can. Another great show. Thank you, everyone in the
Thank you.
in the chat that was listening. We got a lot of you know, indie horror fans. Howard says, how does he audition? He mentioned that in the chat earlier. I'm not sure what he's wanting to audition for, but again, if you need to get a hold of us here at Indie Horror Junkie, the email is right there if you have a project or would like to maybe come on the show here, talk about your project, maybe have it featured in the magazine. You know, hey, give us a buzz. A lot of things going on. We have Mr. Multitask rotting Ricky D. He's probably got about 8 irons in the fire. I'm not sure.
More than that, and Amy's going to hit me with one of them soon, I'm sure.
So many.
I'm
so
just
many
getting one of them
plays.
real hot, so I can.
Yeah.
I keep poking them with it like that.
Yep. Oh, and also for any of you indie horror filmmakers out there, just a reminder that the Indie Horror Junkie Film Fest is going to be at MegaCon, like he said at the beginning of the show, and the deadline for submissions is the end of this month, so it's coming quickly. So make sure you get it in there for us, and we'll hopefully try and add it to the lineup.
There you go. And that's coming up in February in Orlando.
MegaCon,
MegaCon, baby. So hey, what a fun show. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Man, these shows are getting better and better. I'm having such a good time. And hey, you know what they say in the biz, Rick?
Yep. We'll see you next Wednesday.